Okay, so at this point, Tall Night might actually be done. So this happened like 2 to 3 days after I posted my video on the Tall Night situation. If you don't know what situation it is, you can look at my last video. But if you want a short version, here it is. So it's about every controversy that he's been in since he blew up, being the homeless one, where he got kicked out for being intimate with his girlfriend. He was renting a room from his sister, he got kicked out, did the donation thing, got like 32 grand from it, and people say he scammed his fans. Second one, transphobia. Called a trans artist by the wrong pronouns on purpose because he didn't like the music. Third, there were issues between him and his girlfriend. They broke up for a little bit, and that caused every single mod on his Discord server to say that he was talking to minors, which is why they broke up, but you know, they got back together. And the last thing, which was the main thing of the video, is that his account got banned because everyone hates him. There's two parts to it. First part is that, so after another time he broke up with his girlfriend, he was scrolling on TikTok, saw a girl doing a thirst trap, messaged her on Instagram, they started talking. As in talking, I mean it was one-sided with him saying all this stuff, like beat me up for catching feelings too fast, and basically flirting with the girl. And he finds out that the girl was 16. His reasoning behind it is that the girl didn't look 16 because she had tattoos, piercings, and was doing thirst traps, saying that her age wasn't in her bio. If it wasn't in her bio, wouldn't that be the first thing you would ask, you know, to see if that person is actually above the age of 18 before you start messaging them? And then the second thing is that he was doing NSFW content on Patreon. You can't do it unless it's like, I think, under some sort of guideline, which he didn't follow, so that got banned. He started an OnlyFans, and he used a comment from a 15-year-old to basically promote that OnlyFans video on his TikTok. Now with what's happening, 4 to 5 to almost like 6 days ago, so Professor Pippi released a video of Tall Night admitting that he was sending pictures of explicit stuff to a 16-year-old. This is a completely new girl, different from the Instagram messages that happened like, you know, last month or like last week. So after the whole messaging thing, this girl came out with her own story. So she told Professor Pippi about her existence or her experience with Tall Night. This happened in May, so about 4 months ago. So with the new info, he knew that, you know, no one really knew about. He thought to talk to Tall Night first to get his side of the story or to really get more info. So they were in a Discord call for I think 2-3 hours. It was two separate calls, I think equaling like maybe like 3-4 hours. Basically, they wined and dined him into confessing, and this is what was said in it.
So you admit you did send explicit photos to this 16-year-old girl?
Yeah, that's absolutely my fault.
Okay. Yes, that was Tall Night admitting to me that he exchanged explicit photos and messages with a 16-year-old girl back in May. So with this 16-year-old girl, how many separate times did you send explicit photos? Like a separate time?
It was just once because
Okay.
she added me the night before, and then I ended up unediting her the following day.
To explain, a few days ago, a new 16-year-old girl came to me with her story about Tall Night. Now, instead of just coming out with the story like last time, I decided to leverage this proof with him to try to gain a confession to once and for all in this. And what exactly was it? I'm assuming it was like your... Yeah, okay. As you can hear, I got him to admit not only to this, but to even more.
I've been called sociopathic in an unfathomable amount of times in my life because I just try and see the world in like pros and cons, like a spreadsheet almost. I base my decisions on what's most beneficial.
Now, I for one have no idea why he actually admitted all this stuff and thought I wasn't recording, but luckily for us, he did. Now, in the past, he's tried to lie and manipulate his way out of these situations, but this time, since we have a confession straight from his mouth, I think this is finally the end of the Tall Night.
That was just the first TikTok. I'll show the second one later. So Tall Night's an absolute idiot. It's been days since the whole thing, and he just admitted that he was sending stuff to someone he knew was, it seems like he knew was a minor. And how could he not think that Professor Pippi wouldn't record it? Because, what, it's only been like a week since the last thing? And it was considering something that no one else knew about other than Tall Night, this girl, Professor Pippi, and Tall Night's girlfriend. Led to Tall Night making a video called, or a whole new video called, The Call with the Professor. So just like last time, I'll talk about the main points that were made in the video and kind of summarize them. And here's the second TikTok that he posted about the whole Tall Night thing in the Discord call.
Look, this must be a video of Tall Night apologizing for sending explicit photos to a 16-year-old girl.
So we know for a fact that this girl is a liar. And now at this point, I'm almost certain that this girl is in fact not 16 to begin with.
Oh, look, it's the ID I had her send me when she first contacted me. 1/10/2006. Well, in the UK, as you can look up, it goes day, month, year, so that is in fact October 1st, 2006, making her a whopping 16.
Exchanging explicit photos with a 16-year-old when I'm 19 is gross.
So you admit you did send explicit photos to this 16-year-old girl?
Yeah, that's absolutely my fault.
Uh-oh.
The professor is a serial liar.
So, like, you think you have a habit of bending the truth?
Somewhat, yeah.
Okay.
He actually managed to convince me that he was a rational person that was trying to find the truth, that was trying to do the right thing. But no, all he did was get on my good side, get me to confide in him.
Me, when the cop acts like my friend so he can get me to confess to robbing the bank that I actually did rob. Aw, he's such a bad guy. He also says in the video that she told him she was 19, and his proof is his word, and we're supposed to just believe him because he's trustworthy and he hasn't lied in the past or anything.
You don't.
Tall Knight basically said something and he countered it with stuff that he said during the Discord call. Now let's get into the video. So it starts off with saying why he kept his helmet on for like the last like few videos when it was talking about, you know, actual allegations and like crimes. He's like, he doesn't want to show his face out there, like his most recent face, I'm guessing, because he doesn't want to get attacked in public, which, you know, is kind of dumb because he's shown his face already a handful of times where you can actually just search up Tall Knight face and it'll show up. So he's like, yeah, I know why you're here. You've probably seen Professor Pippi's video and your favorite guy's video. There are a few calls, but how the first call started was Professor Pippi messaged Tall Knight's girlfriend saying that he had something super important to talk about Tall Knight and that they need to get on call right now. So I think he said the first call lasted about an hour and a half, where Professor Pippi called Tall Knight and was telling her about the girl that messaged him, saying that he harassed this girl who was 16, saying that he sent her nudes and saying horrendous stuff, basically harassing this 16-year-old. And the professor wanted his side of the event before he posted anything about the whole situation, because no one else knew about anything. He says that the girl is lying about being 16 or being 19, and that he can't show anything from the conversation since it's gone because they were messaging on Snapchat. If you know how Snapchat works, you know, unless you save the thing and the thing, you know, tells both sides that it's saved, you're not going to see anything. That's how the messages actually started. So she messaged him, it was kind of like flirty, complimentary, which is normal for him, and then it just turned to only flirty to then sexualizing things about his body. So after talking for a little bit, the girl wanted nude pictures of him. So he's like, he doesn't send nude pictures. So the girl said, I'll send pictures first, don't worry, I'm 19. So she sends him pictures, and he responds with, she didn't look 16. And he showed a picture example of what the photo looked like, saying that it was clearly an adult. So in the same sentence of him saying that this could have been a 16-year-old who got a picture from Google, he sent his own stuff to this person. So he sent it while in a relationship that he's still in, and then he goes on saying stuff like, oh, I don't deserve her, and then comes back to the situation that girl didn't even prove her age, which is so much worse, because, so this girl asks for nudes, so he says, I'll send them first, gets an image from Google, and then he doesn't even ask if she's 19. He believes her without sending anything, like, as proof that she's 19, and he sends his own stuff. So he admits that he didn't even bat an eye if she was telling the truth about her age. Next day, girlfriend sees a message between the two, and she sees that this guy sent, like, pictures of, like, you know, they've been actually just sexting. Then he says that if the pictures were of a girl who was 16, his girlfriend would have called the cops on him. So he's trying to use that as proof for basically saying that the photos that he got were not someone who was 16. So the girlfriend seen Tall Knight cheat on her, basically sexting with multiple different women, and she hasn't left this guy, like, permanently yet, which I was kind of confused about, because there's, like, so many, like, different things where, like, it's, you know, it's seeing that, oh, he cheated on her, he did this, he did that, but, like, she still hasn't left the guy. And then he hits us with the old reliable, saying that actually the age of consent is 16. And then he calls it gross, like he didn't just do that himself. And then he used a line that your favorite guy used on him.
Conversation with him today on Instagram, he admitted it as well to me, saying it's not as wrong as everyone's trying to make it seem, and saying that it's not illegal. Well, guess what? Just because something's not illegal doesn't make it right. The power dynamic between an adult,
Like, even though the age of consent where I live is 16, that's still gross. I know I try and defend myself very heavily with the fact that the age of consent where I live is 16, so it's legal. But just because something's legal, that doesn't mean that it's right. Legality does not dictate morality.
And then he brings out his own girlfriend. Like, he didn't just admit that he cheated on her with possibly a 16-year-old. So Tall Knight's girlfriend said that the girl's friend was spam messaging her till she replied, saying that she never sent nude photos, but the girl, or his girlfriend, saw the photos. Then was saying that she was 16, where in the messages she said she was 19. And then she messaged Professor Pippi, saying that Tall Knight's girlfriend is harassing her. Look, if you're sending nudes with a random fan, and they're sending it back, saying that they're 19, I don't know, maybe ask for an ID, because if they're comfortable with sending nudes, an ID should be easy to get. Then Tall Knight starts calling out the girl for lying about everything. And he says that he doesn't believe that that girl is not 16. So he believes that the girl is actually an adult and not 16. And when you look at Professor Pippi's TikTok, he was sent her ID showing that she was 16. So Tall Knight was comfortable enough to send nudes to this girl and then doesn't even get her ID. Professor Pippi doesn't do anything at all, and he gets her ID with probably like asking like once just to show that proof that she's 16. This is actually the same case of the last video. He didn't know the age, didn't ask for the age at all, could have got an ID, but he didn't even ask for anything. Because it didn't even have to be, the full ID with all the info. It just had to be the age and the face. If the face matches the ID of the nude girl, and it says the age that she is above 18, then, she's good. He would only be known as a guy cheating on his girlfriend by sexting a random fan. If the ID photo and the photos from the nude images were different and she was a minor, then he got catfished and he's, a predator kinda. Then in the Professor Pippi TikTok, he admits that he sent it to a 16-year-old, but in the video he's saying that he doesn't believe or know her age, and the ages are between she's either 16 or she's either 19. And he doesn't believe that she's actually a minor. But if he doesn't know her age, why did he say 16 in the TikTok? I just want to see the full interaction between Tall Knight and Professor Pippi. Even though it's like, I think, 2 to 4 hours, I want to see the whole thing. And I want to see what else he admits to it. Because if Professor Pippi is using that as evidence to basically call him out on stuff, why doesn't he just post the whole interaction between them? Because look, we're never going to see the actual proof because of how Snapchat works. But he can at least show the full recording on what was said. Then Tall Knight starts to talk about the Discord call, telling people to ask Pippi for the full recording of the 2 calls, because there are 2 calls, minimum an hour each. And he talks about how he was letting everything loose, being about trauma he suffered, and stuff like that. But it seems like it was only trauma that Tall Knight suffered and nothing about the professor. And Tall Knight said himself that if the girl was actually a minor, he would make his own exposed video on himself and not let the professor or your guy do it. So he did that instead of actually, asking if this girl was a minor by showing her ID to him. Okay, I don't know if he has some sort of memory issues, but look at this part of the video.
Exchanging explicit photos with a 16-year-old when I'm 19 is gross. A 3-year age gap anywhere else is pretty much fine, but when you're that close in your teen years, it's just weird. It doesn't matter if it's legal. It's fucking weird.
Conversation with him today on Instagram, he admitted it as well to me, saying it's not as...
He talks about the age gap being weird, even if it's legal. But wasn't that his defense when he was questioned by your favorite guy? He messaged him saying that even if it's illegal, it's fine. And your guy tells him this word by word, saying that I think it's morally wrong because he's taking advantages because of the maturity gap, and you're morally wrong. And you want to know what Tall Knight said as a reply? It's not illegal, it's not immoral, it's 2 consenting individuals. And then he basically admits guilt because he said he's going to make a video apologizing about the whole situation. But why would he need to apologize if the girl was 19? Because then it would just be like, he doesn't believe that the girl is even 16. There are so many things contradicting what he's saying. Look, if the girl's 19, then he's just a scumbag who's texting other girls. Calls the professor a serial liar, and then the professor pulls out a clip of a recording saying in his own words that he bends the truth. Tall Knight then calls out the professor for posting a 20-second clip out of context from a 2-hour recording. And while he was making this video, Professor messaged Tall Knight's girlfriend saying this. And honestly, I think this is, kind of messed up, though, from the professor. He's actually blackmailing him with clips from the 2-hour recording with random clips, saying that he'll post them if he tries to lie or if he even tries to defend himself. So Tall Knight tells him to post the full recording of the actual video, but he's not doing it. But why isn't he? If the whole recording is just evidence against Tall Knight, wouldn't it be beneficial if he just posted the whole thing out there and everyone saw and got their own say in the matter, instead of just posting random clips? Because the first clip that he posted, it was him basically saying that, so you sent this 16-year-old this, and he said yes. So it looks like he knew that the girl was either 16 or she wasn't. But there's nothing before it and there's nothing after it. It was just him admitting that he said stuff to a 16-year-old, which honestly is actual proof that he's actually admitting to it, because he says the age and everything. But what was said before that led to that conversation? He goes on by saying that he's not leaving content creation, so it looks like the most critical thing he said in the last video doesn't matter anymore. And then he brings up the fact that anytime something like this happened, he doesn't know the age. Look, if this happens the first time, you're an idiot. But if this happens a second time, it's kind of concerning that you didn't ask for the age of the person. But I mean, order is kind of in reverse, because the first thing that happened is this one, and this happened in May. And then it was the whole messaging thing on Instagram. That's the second one, but we learned about the Instagram one first, and we're learning about this one now. Then he just starts insulting the professor, saying that, you know, he's the worst of the worst, you know, calling him out for not posting the actual full videos and just, you know, doing this, how he's doing it. And then Tall Knight starts talking about how he cheats on his girlfriend. He talks about how everything started with him and the fan messages, and then he ends it off with an apology. Okay, closing thoughts. We will never know what was truly said, and that's just a fact. Unless there's something to get Snapchat messages back, like, we're never seeing that. It's either that she lied about being 19, or he is lying about her saying she was 19. Either way, it's a he said, she said scenario. But either way, he's scum that cheated on his girlfriend multiple times by sexting other stuff and, you know, other stuff. But somehow they're still together. Look, the thing that Professor Pippi did, you know, it was kind of blackmail, saying that, you know, if he tried to defend himself, he would post clips. Not the full thing, but just clips, which is, you know, kind of messed up. But my main thing is, why hasn't he posted a full recording yet? That's just all I want to know. What's on that recording that he hasn't posted the full thing already? Because if Tall Knight is telling this guy to post the full thing and he's not doing it, then there had to be something incriminating against Professor Pippi. Because it's like this. There's no way Tall Knight got wined and dined. There had to be something he said with, like, you know, actual proof that got him to actually confess. Because there's no way that he wouldn't have posted the whole thing by now. Unless there's actually, like, something like career ending. That's about it. If you like the video, sub. If you sub, you might get another video.